90 days ago, I started posting on social media every single day. And since then, I've had videos get millions of views, and I went from losing 5,000 to 7,000 followers a month to actually gaining 30,000 in just one. Brand deals started showing up, and I actually just got back from filming with one of the biggest companies in the world. And I almost didn't start. Let me tell you the whole story. Let's rewind 90 days. On paper, my life looked fine. I've been a musician for 20 years. I hosted an MTV show for 8. I've had my Apple Music show for 10 years, interviewing all of our favorite artists and celebrities. But for some reason, my social media was just absolutely bleeding out. It got depressing. It got to the point where I didn't even want to post anymore. I would literally go 3 months in between posting. And in 2026, it's unacceptable, right? We are all on social. We are all consuming content. That is what we do. It is just a byproduct of human nature, and that is just where the world is. For some reason, me turning my back on it made me feel like I was sticking it to someone. And I think deep down, you know, seeing your numbers vanish and kind of dwindle month after month, you start to attach that to your self-worth, whether you like it or not. I'm someone who prides myself on kind of being detached from the outcome, but for so long, when you've built a following and then you see that number start to dip, it's hard not to misconstrue the two. So yeah, it definitely took a toll on my mental health, whether I want to admit it or not. Spoiler alert, here I am admitting it. And here's the part that nobody saw. Deep down, I think I was terrified of posting my real self. Like actually me, the things I think about, the things I'm into, things I've struggled with. Part of being authentic and real is getting vulnerable. And that is just a side of myself that I really didn't show on social. Everything was perfect. Everything was polished. Everything was manicured. All my interview clips were edited perfectly. And you know, if I didn't like the way that my eye looked in a photo, I would say, oh, no, that's not good enough. Oh, I can't post that. Oh, people are going to judge me. And so it led to me just not really doing much of anything. The irony is that I've spent my entire career on the internet. I used to sit in my childhood bedroom on MySpace and friend request 500 people every single day, so hopefully they would listen to my music. Now, posting on MySpace then led me to making a YouTube channel where I would post music videos. One of them went viral. I got a record deal, and that was over 16 years ago. But the idea of sharing the vulnerable stuff, things like my sobriety, struggling financially, almost filing bankruptcy, not just the highs, but the lows, my ADHD, my depression, it scared the shit out of me. And talking about my insecurities, that felt impossible. What would my peers think? What would the artists that come on my show think if I'm sitting down with them for an interview and they go on my Instagram page and see me opening up? What are people going to say? Oh, he's trying to be an influencer now? What do you think? You're going to go make a TikTok? You know, I chalked it up to maybe me just being too old or me not understanding the internet. But the irony is that I would consume content for hours a day. And I think the thing that scared me the most is, what if nobody watched? But I think underneath it all, it was this idea of perfectionism. And I'd rather post nothing than post something that wasn't perfect. There's this famous idea about the gap between taste and skill. And most people quit before their skill reaches their taste. And that was me. And understandably so. I've been around world-class creative work my entire career. I've hired incredible videographers. We've hired incredible editors. I have a show at Apple Music. I mean, there's 20 cameras mounted on every single wall of the studio, getting every angle in 20K. Not 20K, but you know what I mean. So I knew exactly what great looked like. And I think of myself as someone who has good taste. So how was I going to let myself make something that wasn't good? But the truth is, I'd just never given myself the reps to get there. I didn't allow myself to make things and fail. I didn't let myself be bad in order to get good. You know, it's easy to brush things off, pretend like we don't want things when they're not going our way. Social media is lame. I don't want to have followers. No, I don't want people to know what I'm doing. I don't want to have to log on to an app every day and feel like I have to post. It's all bullshit. Because I can tell you that right here and right now, it's one of the most creatively fulfilling times in my entire life. At the start of this 90 days, it was me deciding to fill in that gap between taste and skill in public. And that was scary. I haven't really talked about this a lot. Maybe I'll expand on it on this channel in the future. I went to hair school, an incredible school, Paul Mitchell in Costa Mesa. I was 17 years old, and that's actually where I started my music project in my bedroom. One of the things in hair school is it is a semi-functioning salon. People can come in and they can pay literally $10 to $20 to get their hair cut by a student. I had no fear when I was learning how to cut hair. If someone came into my chair, I would ask them what they want. I would give them a haircut, and if I messed up, who cares? They knew what they were walking into. If you want a perfect haircut, go to a salon and pay top dollar. You came to a hair school. This is me learning. And when I messed up, I moved on. I learned that lesson. I'll get it right the next time. Or now I know what I need to practice. So at the beginning of this 90 days, I had to zoom out and literally tell myself, Travis, you just got to act like you're in hair school. I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds stupid, but to be honest, that is the one sentence that allowed me to free myself from that perfection and just experiment. And look, I'm still not there, but instead of being ashamed of the process and my progress, now I get excited about learning. If I mess up this haircut, okay, I learned my lesson and I'll do better on the next one. If I mess up this video, okay, I see what I could have done and I'll do it on the next one. And you know the first video that actually worked? It was one that I didn't want to post. The story on how I got sober. And that was the scariest thing I ever shared. That video is at 1.2 million views. And it's not about the views. It's about the comments. It's about the DMs. It's about the conversations that video led to. I know for a fact it showed other people that they too could get sober. And I had people who had been following me for years saying they never knew that about me, which is crazy because we all think that everyone knows so much about us, and that is just not the case. After I knew I could share the vulnerable stuff, I asked myself, what is a secret that you wouldn't want anyone to know? And I made a video about how I almost filed for bankruptcy. One of the lowest points of my life. I literally at one point had $27 in my bank account and I was selling my clothes in order to pay for food that day. And let me tell you, that whole experience was extremely humbling, especially after being someone who had made a ton of money. I had expendable income. I signed a record deal when I was 20 years old and I toured the world. I didn't tell anyone this stuff. That was another video where I tried to talk myself out of, and I literally physically cringed when I clicked post. I got reached out to from artists, from actors, from directors, from producers, from entrepreneurs that told me that video gave them hope to continue on the path that they've been on. That today I needed to see this to know that I'm doing what I should be doing. That's real people telling me that they needed to hear this. If you sit down and think about it, what are some stories that you could share that could inspire people? And I know what you might be thinking. I don't have anything interesting to share. That is literally what I said 91 days ago. It's not about chasing the algorithm. It's about chasing authenticity. I also don't want to build a following off of being somebody that I'm not. I want to be able to talk about my experiences. I want to talk about my real life. I want to talk about the things that I've struggled with, the things that I've overcome and how I got there, because that's the stuff that I like to watch. That's the stuff that gives me hope when I'm in a tough spot. Everybody's story is different. And I think one of the most amazing parts of the internet is when people share their experiences. Even if they're not a carbon copy of what you've been through, you can find a little piece of yourself in that. And that's relatability. That's why we love our favorite songs by our favorite artists. That's why we love our favorite films. It's how we find ourselves in characters. And that's why we become a fan of creators. So if you're sitting where I was 90 days ago and you're wanting to make content, which I know you are because otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video, here's what I'll tell you. Start before you're ready. Post first, figure it out later. You will not have it figured out on day one, but that's not a problem. That's the process. And if nobody's watching in the beginning, that's a gift because it is the best time to be bad at something. You don't need fancy gear. You don't need the ultimate setup. You have your phone, you have your face, you have an idea, press record. So I've been posting on social for 90 days. Why am I sitting here on YouTube? Because short form taught me how to be honest in 60 seconds. But I think some stories need more room. Also, this is where I consume my favorite stuff to watch. When I get home and sit down on the couch, I don't put on a TV show, I turn on YouTube. I watch my favorite creators right here every single day. I fall asleep to it, I wake up to it, and this has been a goal of mine for years. And I'll be honest with you, I'm learning YouTube in public too. This is just another hill for me to climb. This is just another goal for me to accomplish. And my skill is not at the level of my taste yet either, and that's okay. But you will watch me close that gap in real time, and this is day one. 90 days ago, I couldn't post a single video, and today I'm launching a channel. Imagine where you'll be in 90 days if you start today. Imagine what you'll accomplish. And if you're chasing a dream or a goal right now, leave it in the comments so I can support you like you're supporting me. And if you want to watch the next chapter happen in real time, click that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.